Right, so this is my third video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about the first time I was hospitalized due to my diabetes. Okay, so this happened when I was 19 years old. It had been, I think, 2 or 3 months since I had moved out from my parents' house, and I was working part-time at McDonald's, and no, I was working full-time at McDonald's. And it was a minimum wage job. I literally could not afford groceries half the time. I couldn't afford to pay my phone bill, so my phone was always cut off. And I could barely afford my $500 rent because I was living in a 2-bedroom basement suite with my friend, and we each paid $500 for rent. So yeah, pretty much I wasn't able to afford my insulin. And it sucked because I wasn't on my parents' health insurance anymore because I wasn't living with them. So yeah, and I didn't know about anything about how to get insulin for free, and I didn't have benefits working at McDonald's, which was horrible. And I also forgot to add at the beginning of this video not to take any medical advice from me because, like I said before, I'm not a nurse or a doctor. But yeah, so one day in January, I was feeling super sick and nauseous at work. And I remember having to ask my manager if I could leave early because I literally felt like I was going to throw up. So I took a cab home. And then my friend was home, who I lived with, my roommate, my old best friend at the time, and I remember asking her if she could give me a ride to a walk-in clinic or the hospital, and she's like, I literally have better things to do than drive you around. And I was like, oh, that's really nice, because if it was opposite situations and if she needed a ride somewhere and I had a car, I would gladly drive her around, which I did for the longest time when I had my license for a month before she did. And it's oh, that's cool, I helped you all the time, but you can't help me. And I remember having to call my dad to take me to a walking clinic, and I remember I was barely even able to walk down my driveway without throwing up. It was horrible, and I was honestly terrified to call my dad because I'm great, he's gonna yell at me that I'm calling to interrupt him from work, and that he's gonna have to miss work to take me to go see a doctor. And so I called him. He wasn't as mad as I thought he was going to be, which is good. And he just looked at me and he's like, you're going to the hospital, you're not going to a walk-in clinic. I was like, okay, fine. So we go to Vic General, and I remember walking into the hospital and sitting in a wheelchair because I could barely walk at this point. And I was to my dad, I'm like, you need to get me a puke bucket. He's like, why? And I'm like, because I'm going to throw up. And I threw up all over the floor in the emergency room, and I felt so horrible. So they rushed me in to the ER, and I'm in a cubicle, and they literally tell me, they're like, you have diabetic ketoacidosis. And I was like, what is that? So it's pretty much when your blood sugars go really high from not giving insulin, not testing yourself, which is really important, why you need to test yourself and give insulin. So, and ketones develop in your urine, and you should have ketone strips with you to test your urine for ketones because it's really, really important. And then when you're not giving insulin, your blood literally turns into acid. And it's really, really hard to get your blood sugars down. You will have to go to the hospital if you end up with ketoacidosis. And yeah, so they rushed me to the ICU, and I was in there for 3 days, I think. And I barely remember it at all. I remember my dad was in the hospital with me and my mom. And I barely made sense apparently. When I was talking, I was like, can we go get ice cream? Can we go get Dairy Queen? And then like I was asking if like my friend Hope and I could go get ice cream, and my mom's like, you made no sense, and she took a video of me, and I'm pretty sure she still has it. She still offers to show it to me, and I'm like, I don't want to watch it because I know I'm gonna cry if I see that video. But yeah, apparently I made no sense, and I was in the ICU for 3 days. And according to my parents, I had a really good like nurse and doctor in the ICU, which is good because I don't remember it. And then I got moved to like the general medicine ward, I think it was. I had Vic General, and at that point, my roommate, best friend, came to visit me, but only because her mom was in the hospital, and she's exact same hospital as me, so she's like, oh, I might as well go and see Brooklyn while I'm here. And then, yeah, I had like my other friend messaging me who was staying at our house, and she's like, oh yeah, Hope and I went to the club while you were in the hospital. And I'm like, why would you tell me that? Like, I'm sick, and like you're telling me that you two are going out and having fun while I'm in the hospital. Like, thank you. And then, yeah, I just remember her being like, you need to take better care of yourself. And I'm like, why don't you shut the fuck up? And, you know, when you have a medical condition that's serious, like I'll tell you to take better care of yourself. Yeah. So yeah, I got moved to like where I was actually allowed to like move around and stuff. And I remember the nurses were making me walk laps around like the wing of the hospital, and it wasn't fun because like, yeah, when I was in the hospital I could barely walk, and it was not fun. So I had to like make sure I was able to walk before they could release me. And yeah, I think in total I spent like a week in the hospital. I mean, this was 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, so I don't really remember it that well. Or it was shorter than that, I don't know, I can't count. I'm bad at math, don't ask me. But yeah, that's like one of the important reasons like why you need to be doing your insulin and you need to be testing yourself. But like I said, when you live in one of the most expensive cities in Canada, and you only make minimum wage and you don't have medical benefits with work, like it is really, really hard to afford your medication, because insulin alone, like I'm on 2 different types. One of them is $200 a month, the other is $150. So right there, that's $350 plus test strips, which are like $100 a month or more even, because you have to test yourself like 4 times a day. And not to mention like pen needles and all the other supplies you need, which is a lot. So you're looking at about like $500 a month on diabetic supplies, which is why I believe that they should be free. Because quite honestly, like no diabetic asked for this. Like, why should we have to pay for medication that saved our lives? Whereas like other people who do drugs get like their needles and drugs for free. So why is that fair? I'm not trying to be negative or anything, but yeah, it's really not fair to me. Because like I said, I never asked to have diabetes. Like I wouldn't even wish diabetes on my worst enemy. But yeah, that is like a brief description of my first hospitalization. Yeah, and I will have many more videos coming out pretty soon about like more stuff on diabetes and like, yeah, all the supplies I have, all the different things you have to do. But yeah, if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe, and I will definitely continue to make more videos. Thank you.